All right, put these names on a list, put them in your queue. Don't forget about these players on draft day. Here's Heath's list. Welcome, everybody. Fantasy Football Today Express. You ready over there?
I'm fired up. You said, here's Heath's list. And then there was a pause. I thought it was time for me to start talking.
Oh, sorry. No, that was, I don't even know what that was. That was, I do that every show. Okay. So Heath, here's your list. Talk.
Don't forget about Jordan Love. The Packers went with an extremely run-heavy attack last year. He suffered an injury. He's already said he also ran less last year because he wasn't healthy. But he is still the same quarterback in the same offensive system that just 1 year ago, he threw for 4,100 yards and 32 touchdowns in 17 games. Even last year, we saw him average 8 yards per attempt and post a 5.9% touchdown rate. The Packers just drafted a wide receiver in round 1 for the first time in 2 decades, and Matthew Golden has looked like he's every bit worthy of that selection in training camp. If there's an uptick in pass volume for the Packers, and I think there will be, Jordan Love will be a top 12 quarterback again. And now he's not a bust. You don't have to draft him in round 6 like you did last year.
Love it. All right, give me another player that we can't forget about.
Don't forget about Tony Pollard. I know you and I have gone back and forth on Tony Pollard over the years. I think there was a time where you were the big Tony Pollard guy and I was the anti-Tony Pollard guy. But he's gone over 1,000 yards rushing each of the last 3 seasons. He's averaged about 45 receptions each of the last 3 seasons. Cam Ward's there, so there should be a more functional offense to help assist him in scoring more than the 5 touchdowns than he scored last year. He's never had a year where he was below 4 yards per carry. If there's an actual threat of a passing game, we may see that return to efficiency where he averaged over 5 yards per carry in 3 of his first 4 years.
Yeah, you actually definitely had an impact on the way I see Tony Pollard when we talked about the running backs preview part 2, because I have been stuck on this. He played 9 games with him having a normal snap share, Tyjae Spears having a normal snap share, and he was on pace for 236 carries and 43 catches. And then you said it's not that far off from what we've seen from Isaiah Pacheco at his best. So Pacheco was RB 14 per game 2 seasons ago, and he was on pace for 249 carries and 53 catches. Difference is he was on pace for 5 more total touchdowns than Pacheco was. So I think it's a pretty good point, and I'm still going to take Pacheco over Pollard, but maybe the gap is smaller. My concern there is that they just keep talking up Tyjae Spears. So maybe that 236 carries, I think I said it was, maybe that's more like 215 or something like that. Maybe Spears just has an even bigger role. Spears seemed to be, for whatever reason, the goal line back. I don't really buy it, but I do think it's worth mentioning that carries, I think, inside the 3-yard line was 0 for Pollard and 4 for Spears in the games that they both played together. So that's my concern with Pollard. But you did open my eyes that maybe he's not that far off from Pacheco.
Excellent. Glad I could help.
Yeah, thank you for doing that. All right, who's next?
Don't forget about Jakobi Meyers. So maybe he makes you yawn when you think about him, but he falls 2 rounds later than he should in every full PPR draft. He pretty much, when he plays a full season, is close to a top 30 wide receiver. He's an excellent, if you've gone running back heavy and you just need a consistent wide receiver 3, he's a good candidate to be that guy. Probably going to see 110 to 120 targets, definitely going to catch 2/3 of them because he does it every year. Just got a quarterback upgrade and an offensive coordinator upgrade. And he's the clear wide receiver 1 for the Raiders, even if Brock Bowers is the target 1.
Okay, we're going to take a break. So we've talked about Jordan Love, Tony Pollard, and Jakobi Meyers, and we'll be right back after this on Fantasy Football Today.
Here we go. The 2025 CBS Sports NFL schedule is here. 18 glorious Sundays.
He's got his receiver touchdown.
Filled with rematches.
Oh, the play of the year.
And rivalries.
Touchdown, Bengals.
Plus, plenty of superstar showdowns. And an epic matchup between the Chiefs and Cowboys on Thanksgiving. Clear your Sundays beginning September 7th for the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus.
All right, we're back with more of Heath's players that you need to remember. Don't forget about these guys on draft day. Heath, who's next?
It would be easy to forget about Cooper Kupp. He's 32 years old. That's a scary age for wide receivers. He only had 3 targets per game in the last 3 games that he played last year. Now he's in Seattle. DK Metcalf's gone. And I just think it's worth remembering the first 9 games of Cooper Kupp's season last year, and he missed 4 in the middle. So it's through week 14. He was on pace for 171 targets, 119 catches, 1,241 yards, and 11 touchdowns. Cooper Kupp, as all reports indicate, he looks healthy and is doing a good job in his slot-heavy role in Clint Kubiak's offense. And another guy who falls to round 8, round 9 of drafts could very easily be a low-end number 2 in full PPR.
You know what my favorite part of that, what you said about Cooper Kupp and how good 171 targets you said was his pace, is Puka Nacua was still amazing in that stretch. I know you're not talking about him,
right?
But that's why, for people who are worried about Devontae Adams, I don't really know that Devontae Adams is going to be more involved than Cooper Kupp was, and Puka was still great. As long as we just need Stafford to be healthy there. But yes, Kupp, that is good to see. Do you think he's an impediment to the progress of JSN?
For most of the offseason, I've been a little lower on JSN and a lot higher on Kupp than everybody else. I've kind of shifted that a little bit to where I have JSN still as a top 15 wide receiver, but I do think he's an impediment to JSN seeing 10 targets per game, because I think Cooper Kupp's going to have a big role as long as he's healthy.
All right, who's next?
Don't forget about Deebo Samuel, another guy who would be easy to forget about after last year, worst year he's had in several, but I just don't think he was ever healthy. He battled some injuries. He battled pneumonia. He didn't have quite the same role in the offense in terms of where he was being targeted. And there's been some question about, well, will Cliff Kingsbury even use him in the running game? I think it's important to remember that Cliff Kingsbury coached against Deebo Samuel during some of Deebo Samuel's best years and loved him so much that he tried to turn Rondale Moore into Deebo Samuel, creating the greatest nickname I've ever come up with, Placebo Samuel, that you didn't get at all at the time. But that's okay.
It doesn't make any sense. He's not a placebo.
The placebo effect. And so I would and Terry McLaurin's holding out, which has given him a great chance to build rapport with Jaden Daniels when McLaurin's back, and I do expect he will be. This is an exceptional combination of an underneath guy, an over-the-top guy, with Deebo hopefully handling 25 to 35 rush attempts in the process. I like his chances of being a high-end wide receiver 3 this year.
Yeah, just to reiterate some of the things Heath said. Deebo Samuel had 19 targets in weeks 1 and 2. And then he missed week 3 with a calf injury. And then he had a wrist injury. And then he had pneumonia-like symptoms that put him in the hospital before week 8, and he still played in that game. And then he had rib and oblique injuries. Also, the Commanders guaranteed his entire salary for this season, and they added $3 million in incentives, and Deebo said he wants to reward them. And we've seen him bounce back before. 2022 was kind of a bad year for him. It was a bad year for him. He bounced back nicely in 2023. So it's a fun call, Deebo Samuel. All right, thank you, Heath Cummings. Don't forget about Heath. And we'll be back tomorrow with another edition of FFT Express. See ya.